What did you make of India at the World Cup? We had a very interesting conversation with Tom Moody recently. He's one of the better coaches going around in world cricket. And he thought India were ready a year before and began almost dismantling their side in the next 12 months.
I would have said India were as ready as we were. We played India the previous year and actually beat them in a 3-match series at home. And after that series, it was sort of, I take notes all the time and thought that India will be a lot better when they come back. And then when we played them in the group stages, I thought they were, but we outperformed them on the day. I thought they're going into that game, thought they had a lot of firepower. I thought the bowling unit was finely tuned. I thought they made a good change in bringing Shami back into the side. So when you look at areas that some sides fall short and might be exposed, India didn't really have one, which meant that sort of we would have to play extremely well in order to beat them.
Yeah, I mean, your number 4, there's Ross Taylor, who's the other current outstanding number 4 in world cricket. There's not a lot, and I wonder just somehow if India missed the number 4. But there's something else I want to talk to you about as well, which is you've become captain in 2015. Trevor Bayliss has come from Australia 2015. You've traveled around the world. You know the world outside of England. Trevor Bayliss has delivered a couple of IPL titles to KKR. And all of a sudden, England says it's okay to play the IPL after saying for a long time, we don't even want to know anything about the IPL. Kevin Peterson, Eoin Morgan, these black sheep, they go and play over there. But it's okay. Was that a plan? Because I read this story about Ben Stokes saying Joss Butler came back from the IPL and he was playing differently. Was that part of the thing, that you go there, play high-pressure games?
So it was part of the plan, and it was part of Andrew Strauss's plan. And I pushed him, not that he needed a lot of pushing, I pushed him to make that call, because international bilateral series, 50-over bilateral series, it's so difficult to replicate pressure that comes in a Champions Trophy or a World Cup. So we had a conversation, and he asked me, he said, what's different about playing around the world? I said, well, one, you play as an overseas player, so there's a huge amount of expectation. You're playing for a very small number of spots in that final 11. And 2, if you go and play in India in the IPL, there's a different pressure, there's a different level of expectation. And sometimes you can't get away from it. So you have to find a way of dealing with it. And I said, it takes you out of your comfort zone. And I said, that's good for any player. Even if they go, don't play, if they go, only play a handful of games, if they go and play a load of games, it is completely beneficial to go and play in the IPL. And Straussy agreed with me. He thought making guys available and creating a level of expectation to perform when you go there has resulted in guys going there and performing well. So we've gone from Kevin Peterson being, one of the best players in the world and going there and being MVP some years, to Joss Butler, Ben Stokes, Jofra Archer on a regular basis being, big stars, big attractions at the IPL. And that's a big mindset shift for us. And then I suppose from them we've had Johnny Bairstow, who's gone and done well. But hopefully there will be more. And I hope India cricket is all right with this, because we're using it as a vehicle to try and grow players. And I think when you look at the evolution of the IPL and the growth that young players have used to come through, young Rishabh Pant has come through and accelerated his growth. He steps into international cricket and almost looks like an international cricketer.
It's amazing how things change. They said Clive Lloyd's West Indies learns to play Test cricket playing as county professionals in England. And in the modern game, there's people traveling east instead of west to try and become complete players. Now, you excited about this year's IPL? I mean, you're coming back to KKR with a team that you've been in before, with a coach that someone says is just Eoin Morgan by another name.
I'm extremely excited. KKR has it holds a big place in my heart, not only for the experience in the 3 seasons that I had there, but it was the first time I met Trevor Bayliss. It was where our relationship started. And I suppose when I look back at the time we spent together there was completely invaluable. And I suppose the group of players that have now retired that I played with, guys like Brendan McCullum was there at the time, Brett Lee, Jack Callis, are guys that I learned from throughout my whole career. So I'm looking forward to getting back there and hopefully contributing to some success this year.
It's interesting. You're one of the great white ball leaders in the world. Dinesh Karthik used an expression for you. He said, you talk to him, you just realize he's a natural leader. And there's Brendan McCullum, who's the coach. And I remember thinking, there's Morgan, there's McCullum. And I asked Karthik, how do you feel about it? And he said, just one conversation with Eoin Morgan is enough for me to realize that he's with us. He's a natural leader, but he's 100%. I mean, I just wonder, do you see that as an issue? You're a World Cup winning captain. There's Brendan McCullum and someone else leading KKR.
Yeah, I think that's a huge positive. I met up with Dinesh pre-Christmas. He's a great guy. I played against him loads, fantastic cricketer. But he is the leader at the club. And the big thing for me, I suppose, when coming after the auction, is that people understand that I want to give and help. And that's not treading on anybody's toes. It's offering things when I think I can help. And when I can't, I'm sitting back and I'm trying to learn. Because there's so small margins now in the game of cricket, particularly T20, that if you lose that mindset in stopping learning, I think you're losing out on the game and you're on a slippery downward slope out the door after that. So I think I think we'll be two different leadership styles, but ultimately Dinesh makes all the decisions and I'm just there as maybe a sounding board.
Where do you see tournaments like the IPL? Where do you see white ball cricket going? Because you've been a torchbearer in a sense for white ball cricket. Where do you see it going? Where do you see the IPL going? Yeah,
I think the IPL is growing at a huge rate, and I think it will continue to grow. I think around the world, T20 cricket is very healthy. There is a huge appetite for that, and it's a great vehicle to grow the game. I think 50 over cricket, particularly after last year's World Cup, surprised a huge amount of people with the level of entertainment and the quality of games that were put on show. So I think white ball cricket is looking strong. I think Test match cricket is finding its biggest challenge at the moment, because I don't feel that we've found as a collective a better way of selling Test match cricket. I still think it's going to be a challenge moving forward to try and compete with esports and all the other challenges, football, rugby, hockey. There's so many other sports out there that are changing their dynamic and selling the game better. And our Test match game has continued to stay the same. I don't have the answer to what it is, but I think we should still keep trying to explore the pinnacle of our game, how it might evolve in the next couple of generations.
I'm glad you said that, because die-hard Test cricket people think T20 is the enemy, and you hit the nail on the head. It's esports, it's Netflix, it's everything else that's the enemy for. I'll ask you one final question about Indian cricket. Who do you see as the big stars coming through? Who do you look at in Indian cricket and say, wow, this kid can play?
Yeah, I mentioned him before. I think Rishabh Pant can play. I've watched him now for the last 2 or 3 years of the IPL, and it's not just the way that he plays, it's the growth that he's shown year on year. So you can see a cricketer evolving, you can see some smarts coming into the game. There's not just the crash bang wallop like you see with a guy in his first year at IPL, and then he disappears the next year, and then you see him in the 3rd or 4th year, and he's still the same cricketer. So when you watch him, you see a progression, or a natural progression. And there's a young crop of fast bowlers coming through, which I don't know where you're getting from, but it's certainly a healthy place to be getting them from, which is always a really good sign.
Thank you very, very much for joining us, and really looking forward to the IPL, seeing you with KKR, and maybe we'll grab a coffee there.
Thanks, Harsha. Thanks, guys.
Pleasure. Take care. Thanks.